Hello everybody, I'm Alfred, and I would like to talk to you about the movie My Brother, My Sister. Now this is the 2020 version, the movie that was published in 2020. Now let me just read the official synopsis. It says, Kai and Bray, two depressing siblings trying to get over their parents' deaths. She becomes too close to him as she suffers from agoraphobia and anxiety as he suffers from depression. He tries to understand her. Now, this is the synopsis from the Internet Movie Database. This is very terrible, and this is part of the LGBT nonsense. A lot of people don't understand certain things about the LGBT. Like, first of all, it's included pedophilia, which they are now referring to as minor attracted persons. That is a huge problem. Now in this case, this is basically incest. Now they are coming up with an excuse in a plot to try to support incest. They are saying that in this story, first of all, they lost their parents, and because of that, like what is depressing. First of all, a lot of people have lost their parents and a lot of people have lost loved ones, and as a matter of fact, even kids, when in their growing years, they often lose their pets. So they get somewhat acquainted with the concept of loss via death, losing someone via death. And of course, there's the case of grandma and grandpa, eventually parents, but this is something that so far for a long part of humanity has been happening to everyone, basically, So why is this now an excuse for depression? And then cooking up this situation that, they are struggling to cope, and, they come up with the excuse that she has agoraphobia, all these people with their funny words. A lot of times when you see any word that has the word phobia at the end of it, be suspicious, because it is often a fraud. It is often a deception. If you are so-called, afraid of something, face your fears and get over it. You don't have to create a condition for it and say, oh, it's a medical condition, you can never break free from the fear of that. Let's say you are afraid of spiders. You don't have to come up with a big word and then explain it and say, because you have this medical condition, you will always be afraid of spiders. If you want to get over that fear, you face that fear like other people face their fears. And then there is a question of, is it necessary to face that kind of fear, when you get down to it? Let's say someone is afraid of lions, and that is pretty much so many people. Is there a special word for people who are afraid of lions? Is there a special word for people who are afraid of, wild animals? If someone is afraid of bears, is there a special word for that? Why do people want to come up with these kinds of things? If you're afraid of something, it is part of the human process for you to learn how to get over that fear if you want to. If someone is afraid of heights, it depends, why don't you feel safe? What is actually troubling you? Deal with it, you walk through it and you overcome it. That is life. It's not like you have to define it as a medical condition and say, this person has a medical condition, so they will have to be afraid of death. Now, this kind of situation where they are creating a medical condition where the sister has to be close to the brother, this is crazy. She becomes too close to him as she suffers from agoraphobia and anxiety, and he suffers from depression. So now this is their excuse for an incestuous relationship forming. And this is the kind of thing they are pushing in movies. I know a lot of times, parents don't understand what their kids are watching. They just know they are being entertained, but they don't sit down with them. They are busy, so they don't see what kind of indoctrination they are actually receiving. So when your kids wake up one morning and are like, they don't believe in God, or they don't want to go to church and all of that, it did not start there. It did not start that day. There have been days of programming, days of information, either from school, from folks in school, from movies, from cartoons, from everywhere else. You see, one thing I have always stressed about the church is that the church focuses on preaching the gospel on Sundays. And sometimes, some people also go to church on weekdays, which is not everybody. Now because of the fact that we have left everything aside, we have left all the other days. When the person steps out of the church, the person starts listening to the world. On the radio, you hear the world putting fear into people's hearts, putting propaganda into people's hearts, putting lies into people's hearts, lie after lie after lie. Now, thanks to the Trump administration, more than ever, it has now been made clear that all news media is propaganda. It is all about propaganda and how certain people, who control the government want you to feel. That is all the news media is. Lies, 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 and lies. That is all it is. You see, and whatever they push secular music, they push worldly music, all kinds of nonsense, degrading women, making men see women as, sexual objects and nothing more. That is the kind of thing they push, and that is what is there on TV. Everything when a person goes home from church, that is what they see on TV. Look at the relationships with neighbors and, outside in the marketplace when the person goes out shopping and all of that. It is all based on the world system. The church does not influence that culture, and we should. And in any case, because of our lack of influence over that, because of our lack of influence over politics, that's why we could have lockdowns, where churches were the number one target. Mosques and other places are allowed to open. Nightclubs are allowed to open. There are churches that are still shut down to today. There are churches that will never get back up. There are churches that have been purchased by businesses. Why? Why is that? Churches were not given any kind of remuneration. They were not given any kind of money for all the lockdowns that have happened. In spite of the fact that a lot of these churches help their communities, a lot of these churches feed the needy in the communities. In spite of the fact the government takes taxes, and the government doesn't use the taxes to help the people. The government uses the taxes for whatever agenda and virtue signaling it wants to do, and to launch new wars and to start wars and sponsor all kinds of evil around the world. That is what they are using with taxpayer dollars. But it is the church. For example, there was a church in South Africa, where during that lockdown period, they gathered in the church so that they can get food together and send out to people in the community. And this is what they were doing. Yet the South African government and the leaders, the security forces, that kept quiet when people were looting, when people were rioting, when people were going crazy in South Africa. Those people, the security forces that did not do anything, now raided the church. And I'm talking about hundreds of security personnel raided the church, trying to arrest the pastor. First of all, where were these security personnel when there were riots and all kinds of things happening in South Africa? Also, the security personnel is not ashamed. This church is standing up to do what the government should have done. First of all, the providing of things for the people, the palliatives, was something that other nations had donated to South Africa. Yeah, the South African government was doing whatever thing they wanted to do with it, to make money for themselves. They were not giving to the people. Now you have a church that is from their own personal resources, getting together to gather food to distribute to people. And that is what the government wants to shut down. Did they ever raid any mosque like that? No, because they know when you raid one mosque, all the Muslims everywhere will stand up and attack you. And it will end up with them killing you, and they will get away with it, as they always do. You see, but Christians, because of our lack of engagement and intelligence when it comes to understanding the world, the Bible says, do not be ignorant of the wiles of the enemy. We have been ignorant. The church for so long has been ignorant and has ignored the wiles of the enemy. We have ignored politics. We have ignored how the devil uses politics to destroy the church and attack the church. Every time the church has been persecuted, it's a result of politics. It's a result of good men not being in powerful positions in politics. You see, all the nations where Christians are being killed and persecuted for their faith, if there were Christian leaders, would that happen? If there were leaders, Christians in places of true power, would that have happened? No. But we ignore that. We have bought the lie that Satan sold us, that, through Christianity, you have to be poor, you have to have nothing, that is humble, you have to be a nobody. No, you have to acquire power. It is what you do with that power that will decide and reveal whether you are righteous or not. But you must get that power. How can you be the light of the world without power? Understand the meaning of that phrase, you are the light of the world. That means you are the only light. There's no other light. That means you are the only source of of light. You are the only one who is shining. Jesus is in heaven, so his light is shining through you. He is the one who provides you that light. So outside of you, there is nobody that can be a greater light than you. There is nobody that even have the opportunity to be light. All they have is darkness that can masquerade as light to the blind, to those who are also blind, to those who have scales on their eyes. So they are in darkness thinking they have lights, you know. But that being said, these kinds of movies, you know, this shows you where they are going. This is how the LGBT started with earlier movies. When you look at early days of Hollywood, the LGBT puts gay people in certain situations where they were made fun of, and they were, you know, they were cast in some cases as the villain, or people had something wrong with them. But they were giving them exposure and making them more palatable, and, you know, more making the people more receptive to them. But in the corner, then that corner kept expanding until now it has turned into they are the lead, and it's like, oh, they have to be a leading gay character, or you have to push so and so percentage of Hollywood movies has to be gay and all of that. And studios are bowing down to these things. Why can't Christians, why can't we make studios bow down to, look, we are not going to support your movies until you put Christianity in a good light, until you create Christian characters, until, you know, you do things that are in line with Christianity. But Christians are never get to that point where we unite enough, or we believe, or we love God enough to stand for God the same way the LGBT stands for homosexuality, or the way that the witchcraft people stands for their witchcrafts. How many witches are there in Hollywood? Look at the Church of Satan. It's just, you know, this is a small organization that started from one family. Yeah, look at the influence they have on Hollywood. Why doesn't the church have that? For most of the time, we've had more money. Even now, we have more money. But we use our money wrongly. We are spending millions upon millions to buy up airtime on TV channels that we do not own. And what are we showing? Preaching. Who listens to preaching? It's only Christians, you know. And if somebody who is not a Christian listens to preaching, it's often those who had some touch or some kind of familiarity with Christianity or the gospel in their early years. You know, it is not a normal thing. You know, the Spirit of God has to make miracles happen, to make a non-Christian listen to a sermon. Non-Christians don't listen to sermons. Just the same way you as a Christian, if you see a Muslim imam preaching, are you going to listen? No. There are millions, I would say thousands, hundreds of thousands of religions in India. If you were flipping through channels and you saw one of them teaching, will you watch it as a Christian? Guess what? Other people are devoted to something or the other. They are either devoted to one religion or the other, or they are devoted to atheism, you know, being atheists, or they are devoted to secular humanism. They are indifferent. They have the mentality of, I don't involve myself in anything religious or all of that. But they are devoted to that. You see, you have to understand that those people, you know, they strive for things that appeal to them. We have to step out of our boxes. The same way Satan, long time ago, stepped out of his box, you know, he didn't allow himself to be put into any box, and just went into so many different things. And that is why he is the root cause of every other religion outside of Christianity. He is even the founder of many denominations within Christianity. As a matter of fact, the whole idea of denominations in Christianity was founded by Satan. That is how outside the box Satanism truly is. That it actually controls and owns and invents certain segments of the opposition. You see, so we need to be wise. You know, this push for incest, which, you know, it's also a lot of, you know, when it comes to the movies, you know, and, you know, the X-rated movies and all of that of the world, there's a push for incest. You know, we see that this is a regular Hollywood movie. They are pushing this also. So it is all kinds of perverted ways of doing things, perverted approaches that these people are boldly trying to push and bring forth. You know, so we must understand that this is what is going on. We are in the middle of a war, you know, and it's a war for the minds and the hearts of men. And the outcome at every stage of the war will determine the shape that the war takes. It's up to us to preach this gospel. The gospel is the only salvation, the only hope for mankind. It is the only answer. Jesus is the answer for the world today and forever. So we must let the gospel of Jesus be in every move. We must push it. Put your money there. The Church of Jesus Christ will do a lot better if we use our resources from tithes and offerings, to do things like, rather than feeding the hungry, sending hamburgers or buying grains of rice to send to people in third world countries. Why don't you go to that third world country and start a food factory, start a farm, buy the land? You see, you have to use industry to change the world. The days of trying to use charity to influence and reshape the world has passed. It is not charity. You have to use businesses and industry, things that will keep making money. Because understand something, the other industries and businesses now have agendas, and they have made it very clear. So that is now who you are competing with when it comes to trying to reshape the world and pushing forth ideologies out there. Wouldn't it be better? You've heard the phrase about teaching a man how to fish, that the phrase goes something like, give a man a fish today and he'll be hungry again the next day, but teach a man to fish, and you've given him fish for life. So isn't it better for you to go to that third world country as a church? A church, you have your, because of legal reasons, every church will have its business, is registered business, like a public, if whether it is publicly traded or a limited liability, that is up to them. But the members of the church and those who give, it should be structured in a way that everybody can be a stakeholder and actually get profits from it. Then it should have the charity aspect, because that is the reality of the matter. The church is running on only charity, the charity model. And the more we ask for money, the more people look at it and say, oh, they are all about money. The pastor is eating and all of that. Like if the building and the maintenance of the building does not cost money. Like if there are no day-to-day costs. Like if the church doesn't give to people in the community through its welfare department. Every church gives to people. Especially those who are in need that attend that church. That is a fact. So that being said, in that kind of scenario, you start a farm in that other country. Now you have employed people, you've taught them how to farm, but now you are now creating food and giving it to them, and you have created an economy for them to get food and for them to also get paid. Is that not better? At the end of the day, you have a lasting impact with that. It's just like, look at the silly thing that people did recently, which is, and Donald Trump actually was a part of this, where they were sending trees to Africa in the name of charity. How can you send trees to Africa? Africa has more trees than any other part of the world. Trees are not the problem. The problem is, why are the people not intelligent enough to harness the fruits of that tree, the trees, the leaves on that tree, to generate and create enough food for them to eat? Understand that before colonization and all of that, every individual family had its own farm or a stake on its own farm. Money did not always exist. I repeat, money did not always exist. You understood the importance of fending for yourself. You created your own things. And the trade that you did was trade by barter. You had your own sheep. You had your own, poultry. You had your own land where the farms, if somebody else's farm is growing something that you would like that yours cannot grow yet, you trade some of your produce with him and exchange it for his. That is how it was. So why is Africa, that was built on that model, that prospered for centuries on that model, why do they think now that they need money for them to continue, for people to be rich, for people to be able to eat? There is sand all around you. Anywhere there is sand, something can grow. If the particular tree that you don't want, that you want, can't grow, another tree can grow. And when that tree grows there, the fruit or what comes from it, even the back of the tree is also money, because it can be used to get rubber for certain kinds of trees and also to get wood for furniture and all of that. So even that tree, you may not, that may not be what you want to grow, but somebody else wants it. So you can, from the fruit of that tree, sell it to somebody who is growing what you want, and then you exchange. But these are concepts that people need to understand. Money was created to manipulate nations and to keep the poor and the rich richer. When you understand how the Federal Reserve works, when you understand that the Federal Reserve actually just manipulates currency, manipulates interest rates, and manipulates foreign exchange, you have to think about it. Why are they manipulating it? To what end? It is not the hand of the free market. It is the hand of somebody behind the share who is saying, oh, it is too high now, let us take it down. Let us increase interest rates. Let us decrease interest rates. All these things that are being done behind the scenes to manipulate the currencies, to manipulate the fates of nations, and to manipulate the prosperity of nations. Not to mention the wars and all these other things. So you have to learn how to be independent from this world system. And when you look at the format that has always been and things that have been done, how people got by in years prior, you could see certain things that are fixed and certain things that can continue. But that all being said, if you like to be a part of making Christian movies, making Christian entertainment content that really changed the world and really impacts people with truth, reach out to us on Alfred.vip. We are looking forward to hearing from you. It's important that we make this impact and transform the world. Thank you, and God bless you.